Hey, this is Little Talk with Big Nikki.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Little Talks with Big Nikki. I am your host, Big Nikki. I hope everybody is doing well. It is Friday, April 24th, actually no, the day of the week. I was supposed to today be going to see Trey Kennedy live at Playhouse Square, and I was also supposed to be meeting him. I know, really exciting. I got a meet and greet with Trey, but of course that is postponed because of this lovely coronavirus, as is everything else in our world right now. So hopefully I'll get to meet Trey soon someday, but it is, not gonna be today. So what are we talking about today? I'm sure that's like what you're all wanting to know. Today we are going to be talking about motivation expectations. So let's just get right into it. So if you follow me on Instagram in particular, you probably saw that I put out a couple Instagram stories about a week and a half ago, asking and saying that I needed your guys' help for this podcast episode. I really wanted to get like a well-rounded opinion, and opinions from all of you, not just my own thoughts and what I was thinking. So how this all kind of came to be is a friend of mine I follow on Instagram posted on her story something, and I wish I didn't save it, and of course because it was her story it's gone now, but basically it had something to do with like people like belittling people, or people like giving people a hard time if they in this quarantine aren't being motivated enough, if they aren't doing enough, if they aren't like applying themselves like to a certain standard or something like that. So, and I messaged her and I was like, in the story that she posted basically was saying like, stop doing this, like let people, kind of like the last episode of the podcast I kind of talked about, like, do what you need to do. Like, so this was saying like, let people like do things at their own pace, like stop putting like all this pressure like on them to like fix themselves and change themselves because they're in quarantine. Like it's just too much. So I responded, I was like, yeah, like I feel this, like so accurate, like really correct. And she was like, I've been feeling less motivated, if anything. And I was like, same, like I feel that. So I was like, you know what? I wonder if it's not just me and her. Sorry guys, I just like hit this tree. But I was like, I wonder if it's not just me and her, but if this is like, is everybody feeling like this? So I was like, okay, I gotta go to Instagram, the problem with Instagram is they have a poll sticker that you can put on your story, which is great. But the issue is there's only like two options. It's like a yes or no poll. Like there's only two options. You can't have more than two choices. So what I did was titled a quiz sticker. And because it's a quiz, there's a right and wrong, answer. So I was getting like everyone in my DMs was like, why is it telling me my answer is wrong? Like I just chose. I was like, no, like it doesn't matter if it said that your answer was the right answer or the wrong answer. I just wanted like how many people responded to which choice for which question. So sorry to all of you if you're listening for that slight confusion. That was not my intent, but Instagram doesn't have anything that's a multiple choiced poll, so I had to use a quiz. Okay, so that's what happened. I'm not stupid. I wasn't trying to say there was a right or wrong answer. So like I know some of you chose the wrong answer, but that was okay. It's your answer. I was like, I just want your opinion. There is no right and wrong. I really tried to formulate these questions in like a pretty decent manner. I felt like I was making a survey for one of my marketing classes because I've had to do that a couple times. I was like, sounds like a survey, like the way I like worded my responses and everything. So I really tried to like collectively like, make this make sense. So Before we get into kind of like my spiel, I want to go through these results. There's not like a ton of questions. Excuse the noise, or if you see the paper in the camera, I have to look. I literally by hand wrote down the question I asked, what the answer choices were, and how many of you responded to each of those choices. I also did a final question at the end where it was kind of like an open-ended, where I was like, hey, like message me or DM me, which a couple of you did, so I am going to share those responses as well, but I'm going to go kind of through the multiple choice first. So first question I asked was, how much has Corona changed your life? Overwhelmingly, the top answer with 39 responses was quite a bit. 31 people, so not too far behind, said everything is different. And only one person said it hasn't, and 11 people said hardly at all. So overwhelming majority was that Corona has changed your life quite a bit, or like everything about their life is different now since this virus became a thing. So, okay, I'm just gonna keep going, and then I'll kind of give my comments and synopsis and stuff. So my overall feeling the past 2 weeks has been, and the options were happy, optimistic, overwhelmed or scared, frustrated / over it, okay, just taking it all in. The overwhelming majority was, with 28 responses, was okay, just taking it all in. And second to that was 22 people said they're frustrated and they're just over it. Only 8 of you answered with happy or optimistic though. So overwhelming kind of consensus for that is just people going with the flow. Maybe they're a little frustrated, a little over it, but they're just kind of rolling with the punches. Next question was, I feel an external pressure to improve myself during this time. So this is kind of getting into specifically what I want to be talking about today, this external pressure that society is placing on everyone, that, you know, you need to improve, you need to learn a new skill, you need to do this and do that, because if you didn't, then what were you doing during quarantine? So it says, I feel an external pressure to improve myself during this. 42 people said yes. 42 of you said, I feel an external pressure to improve myself during this. Only 21 of you said no, so more than half, or I guess just about half. And then 6 of you said, I've felt it, like saying I've felt the external pressure, but I don't care. Only 6 of you said that, and only 21 of you said no. So overwhelming majority say yes, there is this external pressure that they are feeling to improve themselves during this quarantine time. Next question is, my motivation level is at an all-time high, what it usually is, which is okay. It's at an all-time low. And 30 of you, which was the highest, said what it usually is okay. So the question before was, do you feel an external pressure? Yes. This question, a lot of you are saying, I feel the external pressure, but my motivation is right around like where I would, normally say it is. However, 20 of you, which was the next highest, said that your motivation was at an all-time low. So at the same time that you're feeling the external pressure, your motivation maybe is not quite what it usually is. This question says, I feel like if I don't learn something new, I've wasted time. So this is kind of where that external pressure plays, into all of this, where it's like, oh, well, if I didn't improve myself for something, then I have wasted time, or people will look at me like I've wasted time. Surprisingly for this though, a majority of you, 34 of you, said no. That you don't feel like you will have wasted time if you don't learn something new. But right behind it, 31 of you said yes. So really not like super far out. Okay, so I wanted to stop there though and read this comment from a friend of mine. They messaged me in response to this question particularly and said, just wanted to add a little something to this. I'm sure you have been seeing people post this all over social media. I think it's the idea of people who only use the excuse they don't have enough time to justify not doing something they should be doing. But just because you are in quarantine doesn't mean you have more time either. Like me, and he sent like a crying laughing face, it's more of a lack of motivation people don't get things done, not necessarily time. And I think like that's like super fair, which, you know, coincides with the motivation question. So it's not really that people are saying I don't have time to do this or I don't have time to learn the skill, but it's, do you have the motivation to do it? Which also then brings it back to that overall external pressure that you're feeling like you should have motivation to do it because you supposedly have the time, but not everybody does have the time. We'll get into that. I'm just gonna keep going. I feel like I'm either A, utilizing my newfound time well, B, utilizing my newfound time poorly, or C, what newfound time? So the top answer was utilizing my newfound time well. So majority of you, even though a lot of you said you feel this external pressure, a lot of you said your motivation is pretty much around what it is, you still feel like you're utilizing the time you have well, which is good. However, 16 and 16 of you replied to the next two that you were utilizing your new time poorly, or what new time? And like, it hasn't changed for you. You still don't really have the time or any more time now than you did before. So next question was, I feel like I'm trying new things / to improve because an overwhelming majority, 33 of you said because I want to for myself. Only 2 of you said because that's what people say you should be doing. And 18 of you said I'm bored, so what else would I do? And 2 of you said I don't want to, but I'm trying to maximize this time. So even though a lot of you were saying you feel that external pressure, a lot of you are still saying anything you are doing to improve yourself or learn something new, you are doing that because you want to, not because necessarily like you feel like people are saying like you that's what you should be doing during this time. Next question was, I'm allowing other thoughts, sorry, I can't even read my own writing. I'm allowing others' thoughts and expectations to A, impact how I feel and react a lot, impact how I feel and react a little, not impact me at all, or impact me constantly. 28 of you said not impact me at all, so that's good. A lot of you are saying, no, like I'm not allowing what other people think or expect to dictate what I'm doing. And that's really good. So only 2 of you said impact me constantly, 14 of you said a little, and 9 of you said a lot. So that's good. The majority of that is good, that you aren't necessarily letting others' thoughts and expectations influence you. I'll kind of explain after I read this one why I included it, because it's like not really super on topic, but there's a reason why I did it. So this question says, I openly share with people how I'm feeling. One option was yes, I feel I'm valid even if my moods change daily. Another option was no, I'm too scared of people judging my emotions. And the last option was I don't share my emotions with people any other time. 28 of you, which was the highest response rate, said yes, I feel I'm valid even if my moods change daily. So a lot of you are sharing. Surprisingly though, the second highest response with 16 was the one that said I don't share my emotions with others any other time. So the reason why I included that one was because I kind of wanted to know like a sense of who I was, kind of talking to, because so I feel like if you are a person that you share your emotions with other people, that you might be not more vulnerable necessarily, but like more inclined to then allow those people's expectations to kind of fall on you. Whereas if you kind of like keep yourself a little closed off, a little guarded, maybe you don't openly share your feelings with people as much, then like if people were like saying things like, oh, you should be productive and you should be motivated. Well, if they don't know that you're not feeling motivated, then they can't really come at you. Like they can't really target you, if that makes sense. So that's why I included that question, because I just kind of wanted to have a vibe of like who I was dealing with, I guess. So that's good, like that the majority of you, I think it's good that you share your emotions with people, especially people close to you. I don't think it's healthy at any point in time, but especially right now, to keep yourself kind of closed off and locked down to everyone around you. Like you need, for your own like mental sanity, to like talk to people about how you're feeling. But like I said, I think that also might subject you a little bit more. I'm not saying this is everyone, I'm not saying this is everything, but in my mind, maybe a little bit more to then, you know, receiving advice, quote unquote, from people, even if they mean well, like, but just hearing like, oh, well, like you should be productive or you should be doing this. And like, then that expectation externally is kind of being like placed on you. So yeah, that's why I think it was important to ask that question. But moving on, the next one was, this pandemic has taken a toll on my mental health. This by far for me is, oh gosh, I feel this so much on my personal level, but it also is very concerning to me. 25 of you with the highest response rate said that this pandemic has taken a toll on my mental health for the worse. Only 9 of you said it's taken a toll on your mental health for the better, and 17 of you said you're kind of indifferent, like it hasn't really impacted your mental health, like wherever you were before we went into quarantine, that's kind of where you are now. But 25 of you saying for the worst, that's a lot of people that feel like me, because that's what my response would have been. That's how I built like these responses too, is I kind of thought, what would my answer be if I were taking this? Let me, make that an option, but then also maybe what's like the middle ground of how I'm feeling, and then maybe what's like the opposite of how I'm feeling, to give everyone like a spectrum, a range of like emotions that they could choose from to answer these questions. I only have 3 more to go, but these last 2 I kind of want to cover all options of them. So this next one says, if I don't get enough accomplished during this time. 4 answer choices. A said, I'm worried I'll be seen as lazy. B says, I'm worried I'll be seen as wasting time. C, I don't care what people think, I know myself. And D said, I'm motivated in doing the most. 24 of you was the highest answer, saying, I don't care what people think, I know myself. So, but between 19 of you, so 10 for one and 9 for the other, you basically said you're worried you're going to be seen as lazy and or wasting time. That was 19 of you, so not too far behind. So I'm kind of seeing that external pressure that we're talking about kind of creeping in for some of you. And I'm just talking about these numbers. Believe me, I'm going to get into how I'm feeling real quick, so I'm not excluding myself from any of this. But 19 of you saying you're going to be seen as either lazy or wasting your time if you don't get enough accomplished. 24 of you saying you really don't care what people think of you. You know what you did. You know what you're capable of doing and how you spent your time, and you're not worried about what other people think, which is good. That is a good place to be in. But 5 of you said, which shouts out to these 5 people who said, I'm motivated and doing the most. Okay. Okay, I can stand by that. I'm here for that. Next question said, creative wise, I'm feeling. This is for all my creatives out there, and I'm gonna get into this too, because I'm going through it. Okay, sorry, let me give you the options first. A was creative wise, I'm feeling more inspired. B was less inspired, C was I'm not a creative person, and D was every day is different. 21 of you was the most highest response, saying every day is different. Creative wise, some days are good, some days are bad, some days are eh. And then second highest was 14 of you said more inspired, 12 of you said less inspired. I want to be less inspired. I don't want no spiders up in here. I'll tell you that right now. Gosh, I can't talk. Sorry. And then 5 of you said I'm not a creative person. Creativity, I feel, has taken... It's been a whole marathon and a half when it comes to that. So that's why I want to ask that question. And before we kind of break this down, just the last question I want to go through. I was like, did I not write the question down? I was like, I did. Last question was, I feel/think that on a grand scale, so this is just like not just me on a micro level, not me as an individual, not me and my family, but like on a grand scale overall in the world, in the US, in our state, everything. A, you think a lot of good is going to come of this. B, things won't change at all. Things won't change overall. C, I hope things will be better, but I'm doubtful. And D, I doubt things will be better, but I'm hopeful. We have a tie. So 22 of you said both. So 22 of you said A, a lot of good is going to come of this, and 22 of you also said, I hope things will be better, but I'm doubtful. 0 of you said things won't change overall, so nobody thinks that we're going to come out of this exactly the same and nothing's going to change, which is good because I'd be concerned if you did. And then the last option, 7 people said, I doubt things will be better, but I'm hopeful. Yeah. The response that I would have chosen for me was, I hope things will be better, but I'm doubtful. And I guess better is kind of like a relative term for that question. I don't really know what that means. Like, does that mean like people are going to treat people better? Does that mean that like maybe like people will stop fighting about stupid stuff and like going to war over stupid stuff? Like, I don't really know what better means. Like, the environment will hopefully be better. Just better. Better vibes. I don't know. That's kind of like subjective to, you know, interpretation of whatever your definition of better would be on a grand scale. But yeah. Okay, sorry, drink break. Sorry guys, my throat getting dry. Okay. So, I wanted to read. Okay, yeah. So let me go into real quick these elaborations while I'm still on this Instagram thing, and then I'll kind of branch off of that. So elaborations, one person sent me, most of my fear is not for myself, but for my kids. Just they wanted to, you know, voice that, and I feel that 100%. I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine. Somebody else said, I feel back and forth a lot. Disappointment, but also excitement. I feel that. I feel like we all feel like that was like the creative response was like every day is different. Like I'm kind of back and forth. Like some days are good, some days are bad. And I wanted to read you, another friend of mine DM'd me, and I didn't write down what question this was on. But she responded and she said, can there be an other option? For me, it's been a lot of time to ruminate, and my anxiety has gotten worse. For me, my anxiety is worse due to the stress it's caused. For me, my anxiety is worse due to the stress it's caused my bosses, and it trickles down to me. Then doing all that research she had to do for one of her jobs, plus more alone time because who she lives with has been at work a lot, and it's like when they're home, like they're usually sleeping or relaxing because they're exhausted. I wish their work schedule was more normal, but with everything it can't be. And I just feel lonely at times. So I think that that's like a really big point to discuss too, is like going back to like, is your mental health like for the better or for the worse through this? It's kind of like, on one hand, it's like you might not have more time, but if you do have more time, just because you have more time, you might not be more motivated. You might not be more motivated because you are more anxious, because you have more time to think about things and be with yourself. I feel like I've said this before, but maybe if I haven't, or maybe if you're new, like listening to this, I just feel like sometimes the most difficult, painful, uncomfortable, just, oh gosh, you don't want to do it thing is to just be by yourself. Like, literally, when is the last time, and listen, like I'm talking to myself too, I'm putting the question out there. When is the last time that you have sat, and I know for a lot let me stop myself real quick. For a lot of you, because I'm thinking of all my single friends who, like, they're single and they don't have a roommate, and they're like, Nicole, this is literally me on the daily. What do you mean, when's the last time? It was just 20 minutes ago I was just doing this. So, like, all of you are exempt right now from what I'm about to say. But for the rest of us who, you know, whether you're married or you're living with someone, it's like, when is the last time you just sat? You weren't sleeping. Your phone is not even in your vicinity, and you just sat with yourself. Not praying, not meditating necessarily, literally just sat with yourself. I don't know the last time I did that. I know I've done it before, but it hasn't been recently. And it's the hardest thing to do, because that's when all these just, your brain will just like go. I think that this can be good, but I also think it can be bad, because if you allow your brain and your emotions to kind of take over and kind of like what some people will say lord over you in that moment, that's where that you're gonna come up with all the old pains, all the old, you remember when they did this to me, the hurts and the disappointments and the like, oh, you're just like brewing, you can like brew in that anger and just steep in that like wallowing of like, and I'm not saying like you are not valid to feel those things, but it's like when you sit with yourself, that all that stuff just comes back for some reason. And that's why like we hate being alone, I think, a lot of us, because it gives us almost too much time to think. I know I did a podcast before, like way back in the day, and by back in the day I mean like a year ago, on you know, like using busyness as a distraction, like a distraction from healing, a distraction from like self like growth and like, you know, improvement. But I think sometimes I think it's like with anything, like sometimes too much time is not good. Sometimes too much time is worse than like no time at all. I swear, like I really think that's the case sometimes. So it's just like I feel like everything she was saying about like anxiety just kind of like coming in, and like she's already stressed about like other stuff going on, like externally, stress coming from other people that's now like bleeding on to her. And then it's just like she has like some time like to be by herself and like just sit there and like think and like, you know, conjure up these thoughts. It's like sometimes it's just like it's not safe. So, and this is like, it's so important to like keep tabs with people, especially people that you know are single, or you know live by themselves, or you know like that, you know, maybe they have like more of a history of like anxiety or depression. Like it really is important to try to like keep up, you know, just checking in on people, and especially during this time, just making sure like they're good, you know. Okay, so that's my little tangent about that. But I want, now that I went through like all the Instagram kind of survey info and data, I want to get into this topic. Like I said earlier, like motivation expectations. Like this whole thought, because I have been feeling this. Let me clarify, okay? I do not have anybody in my life that has looked at me within the past like several weeks and said, Nicole, you're not doing enough. Nicole, you're kind of being lazy right now. Nicole, this is like a time for you to like do something or like improve on something. Like, remember when you told me you want to do this? Like, why don't you, like, you're not doing that. Like, I have had no one in my life kind of talk to me that way. So I just want to say that to preference what I'm about to say I've been feeling. I have been feeling like a failure, and it's April 24th, right? You guys are listening to this podcast is dropping April 24th. There are some places in some states and some businesses that are saying that they're going to be opening up starting May 1st, which to me means we are easing out of quarantine. We're not going to get into the specifics of if we think this is a good idea or not. That's not what this podcast is about. But let's just say that happens and they do the gradual thing like they say they're going to, and they continue to gradually open stuff up, making us be more and more and more out of quarantine, and kind of going back to quote unquote normal, but it's not going to be normal, but you know what I mean. I have been feeling like a failure. I have been feeling like I have not utilized my time wisely. I feel like people might view me as lazy or have wasted time in this quarantine, because I didn't do things that I should have been doing. When I say this next statement, I'm not trying to make excuses, and I don't know what everybody else's experience is like, so I can't speak for students at CSU. I can't speak for all college students. I can't speak for high school students. I'm just speaking for me, but maybe you'll relate. Literally, the last 2 weeks especially, doing my classes online with the work that I have to do and like we have to do. I have a lot of group projects and a lot of final projects. I am a senior, so I have 2 capstone classes because I'm a double major. It's literally been like working a full-time job. Literally has been like working a full-time job just for me to keep up with my schoolwork. Now here again, I might not be your average college student. I care about my grades. And I'm not saying that the average college student doesn't, but I'm just saying like a lot of people are like, C's get degrees and that's kind of how they live their life. And good for you. Like if that's your thing, that's your thing. I don't live like that. This is literally like when all this kind of like really started to hit me, like it's my last month of school. Like I'm just not caring. Like I've maintained a really good GPA, was nominated for valedictorian for both colleges. Like, my grades got me to where I am now. And I'm not just, not caring the last month, especially like this is literally when all your points come in is within these last 4 weeks. So you better care. So it's like, I am literally at this point just trying to get to the finish line of finishing school. I am just trying to get to the first week of May when I can take my last final and be done. I have not been super creative. I have not been doing things that I should be doing for my LLC business. I feel like a failure. I do not have a job. I keep applying. And it's sometimes applying for things I really don't even want to take if the opportunity presented itself. I don't know where I'm gonna be living in the next 2.5 months when my lease is up. I don't know how I'm going to afford to even move anywhere other than under the bridge or my parents' house. And I think just the overwhelming feeling I've been feeling is like I'm just a failure. I'm not utilizing time wisely. What am I really doing with my life post school? Like, I know I need to get through school like the next 2 weeks, but now that it's getting even closer and it's like, oh, you only have 2 weeks of school left. Now my brain's like, and what the heck do you think you're doing after? You're not working as of right now because you don't have a job. Like, all these thoughts, and it's like, I know I'm probably being too hard on myself. I feel like a lot of us are, but there is this external pressure of like, this whole time, like, I should have been updating my portfolio for like my pictures. I should have been, taking some sort of class or like doing like tutorials, like, or just even watching videos. Like, okay, what can I do to take better photos? Like, I don't know everything, especially when it comes to video. I don't know. I feel like I know hardly nothing about video. So it's like, this whole time, just in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I should be like looking like this stuff up, and I should be like watching and reading and like learning and, getting my camera out and like practicing and like, oh, this doesn't work. So like, let me try this, and like just trial and error and like just getting better at like camera opping and just, principles, like basic lighting principles and like stuff for like internal lighting and stuff. And it's like all these things I should be doing. And it's like, I literally, I can't, like, mentally, I cannot dive into like those creative things or the creative aspect of it, because I'm literally just trying to get through school right now. And I'm scared that they're talking about already opening stuff up. Not even, like I said, we're not going to get into like, oh, we think this is going to be good, bad, like for the curve, like whatever. But I'm scared that they're already opening stuff up, because pretty much what I am hearing in my internal head happening is, oh yeah, so quarantine's like over when you are done with school. So then it's going to be like back to like, again, normal life. And now that time that I kind of wish I did have, like the past month, to do and hone like these like skills and like teach myself stuff and like improve upon stuff that is important to me, important to my future career, hopefully, to know and to learn. And it's like, that time is now gone. And I'm like, did I just waste a month? But then it's like, it's not like I've been sitting here like doing nothing. Like, I mean, I've been, and like, that's the thing too, is like on top of school, I'm applying for work. I'm on Indeed almost every day. And it's just like, there again, I think I need to respond to that like one question where the answer was like, I don't care what other people think, I know myself. And I think that I need to come to terms with that within myself, of like, regardless of what other people think, or regardless what I think of myself, like if I'm being too hard on myself, like I know what I did during this time. I know where my time went. Was I always productive? No. Do I watch TV some nights with my roommate? Yeah. But it's like, that to me is normal. That to me is like time to like decompress. And it's like, did I start to do some like weekly Zoom calls or phone calls with like friends? Absolutely I did. Like, am I talking to my parents a little bit more than usual? Probably, because I can't see them in person and I want to make sure that they're like good, And it's like, I called my grandma like finally, like last week or the week before. Like, I haven't spoken to her in like months, and it's like, there's no good reason why I haven't talked to my grandma, but it's like, I finally like was able to call her. So it's like, you know what? Maybe maybe I'm not any better at camera opping. Maybe I'm not any better at graphic design. But guess what? Like, I called my grandma. I came out like with a 4.0 in my last semester, and it's like I just need to own that and take pride in that and tell myself that I am fighting a lot of external things. Like, this isn't even all me. Like, the whole fact of like I'm not working right now, it's not really my fault. I'm doing all I can do by like looking and applying. And it's like, you know, I'm only human. I can only give so much of myself to everyone and to projects and things. So I just said that on here. I told y'all I'd keep it real with you, and I'm keeping it real with you about this because I want you to hear this. If you're feeling like you have wasted time, or you're like failing at like utilizing your time, or you're just failing right now in life in general, you're not by yourself. I'm in the same boat. I got really mad the other night with God, and I was crying, and I was like, I know you're good, and I know like you're gonna provide like you always do, and you know, like I need to lean on him and trust him for provisions and stuff. But I'm like, this really sucks. The closer we get to the end of the semester, closer we're getting to May 9th when graduation would be happening. Guess what? I'm not walking across the stage. My family's not going to be here. My friends aren't going to be here to celebrate. Like, I'm just mad, man. And it's like, you know, Stephen Furtick was like talking about you need to release some things in order, like you might be blocking like what God's trying to have you receive because you won't release the other things. And it's like, I've been trying to deal with that, but it's hard. Like, I don't know how to give up my anger or my frustration, you know, with like some of these current things that are happening. Like, I don't know how to just release that. Like, I'm not gonna just all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, I don't really care if I'm not graduating or like having a ceremony or anything. Like, it's fine. Like, no, that's something I look forward to. I'm mad about it. So I'm not perfect. I'm dealing with it day by day as best as I can. But I think it's important, again, to not let, if it's like, I feel like for me, like if it's like a thing where it's like internally, like in you, like you're fighting yourself and you're saying like you haven't been productive enough, or you like aren't doing things you should be doing during this time, like that is something like you need to sort out for yourself and figure out like if that's the case or if you're just being too hard on yourself. But like, I think it's important if you feel that external pressure, legit pressure from people like around you or society, and you're letting that feed into you, that's like not good. That's not good. Because I was so happy. What question was that? Oh yeah, this question. I was so happy with this, that so many people respond this way. I feel like I'm trying new things / trying to improve because I want to for myself. I think that should be the goal, no matter if this quarantine lasts just another week or two, or if it lasts another month or two, or if it stops and then we have to do it again. Like, whatever the case, I think like going forward, like that's what we need to like be thinking. Like, whatever I am doing, whatever I'm trying to improve upon or learn or grow in, am I doing it for others or am I doing it for myself? And like, that's like what you need to look at. That is the expectation, so to say, that you need to put on your motivation to get things done. It should be because you want to do it, not because you're feeling some external pressure or societal guilt if you don't. And I think the only thing I kind of want to touch back upon is, kind of like I said earlier with that creative question, like people feeling more inspired, less inspired, or, a lot of you, 21 of you said every day is different. Every day is different. And I think so many people are in that boat. I'm not going to lie. So with this Instagram poll, I was kind of shocked that maybe more people didn't feel kind of more like towards the way of like the external pressure, like getting to them and like where they're finding their motivation to do things and how like they feel if they don't utilize their time wisely, like how they're going to be looked at. I was kind of surprised that more people didn't respond like they were feeling that external pressure, because I feel like I've seen and heard so much about it. I'm glad that that was the way the responses were though. But I wanted to do this poll, like, yes, to get different people's opinions, but it's like I also just wanted everyone to see, like, in like a grand scheme of things, like, whether you're listening to this from whatever platform, like you might not even know any of these people, because all people from all walks of life and how I know people follow me, it's like you might not even know any of these people or anything, but it's like just knowing that like that many people feel the same way as you. Like if you hear one of those questions, you're like, man, yeah, like I would have said that too. Like every day's just different for me as a creative. Like some days I like got it and some days I don't. And it's like, just, you're not by yourself. That the whole point of this podcast is like to just, I'm keeping it real with you guys. I want whatever I say to a point to feel relative to you, to feel like you can relate to it. But also just so you know, like what I said last time, like we're all going through the same thing, but not in the same way. And this is like more of a mental / like manifestation / like motivation, I guess, example of that. But it's still like very relative that like so many people have been telling other people or expressing ideas like on Twitter or whatever, like, oh, like y'all should be so motivated and y'all should be this. And it's like, and then if you're not, you're saying they're like, is there something wrong with me? Like, am I not quarantining right? Like, am I not doing this right? Like, you're supposed to know how to correctly do it. Like, you do this all the time. Like, no, it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing anything wrong. Like, just because you're not motivated right now to learn a new skill, just because maybe like those people said, like their time hasn't changed. What newfound time? And that's kind of how I feel with school. It's like, what newfound time? I don't have like that much more time. And it's like, and whatever time I do have is like consumed with schoolwork. So it's like, you can't just like push that on everybody. I understand the encouragement, the sentiment of being encouraging and, wanting people to stay motivated. Like if it's like encouraging, like, hey, like you guys got this today, like wake up, like be productive, like, be motivated to like do things like that you wrote out on a list and you're gonna check them off by the end of the week. Like that is so good. I'm actually gonna link in the description to this a podcast by Black with No Cream, which is a creative podcast, but they just did a talk about like 5 ways to like pretty much like make yourself like productive, like to keep yourself productive through all this. And I thought that they were really good, really simple, really practical. I even wore jeans today when I went out to the grocery store. Not sweats, not leggings. I put jeans on. Thank you, Black with No Cream. But I'm gonna link them below here so you can like go and like listen to what they have to say. I didn't want to just like repeat what they said because they, elaborated on each point like way better than I could. But it's like, yeah, like those messages are so encouraging. Like keep yourself encouraged and motivated and productive. Like those are so good. But what we should not be doing, and some of us might not even realize like that we come off like this, but it's like, you might be motivated. you might be okay, you might be this, you might be that, but somebody else reading or listening to what you're saying might not be. And then they're left being like, what is wrong with me that like I can't learn a new skill right now? I mentally can't. Again, like I said in the last podcast, like some people are struggling just to get out of bed in the morning. Like just getting out of bed for them is like a win. So it's like, stop comparing. It's like a saying that everybody knows. Something like, stop comparing like your page 1 to somebody else's like chapter 2 or something along those lines. Like everybody's in a different space. Be encouraging. Encourage people to be productive, help people be motivated. If they come to you and they're like, hey, I'm just really lacking motivation, hype them up, like try to get them motivated to achieve something that they want to achieve during this time. But don't belittle people and make people feel bad or like something's wrong with them because they can't do what you're doing. They can't achieve what you're achieving during this time. Okay? That's the talk today. Motivation, expectations. So yeah, I hope y'all are I hope y'all listening. First of all, I appreciate you if you're listening. I appreciate you so much if you're listening. I really, guys, I love doing the podcast. I love talking about this stuff, especially now. It's like, man, like everyone's making what I'd call like the Rona content. Like everybody's kind of like talking about the same thing, but I feel like everyone that I listen to and follow, whether it's a podcast, a vlogger, everybody's kind of like doing their different thing, like doing it in their own way. And I think that in itself is like creative and really good. Thank you so much if you listen. I really do appreciate you. I hope you are staying safe. I hope you are staying healthy. First and foremost, I thank you if you're listening to this and you're a frontline worker, whether that's grocery stores or, nursing staff, doctors, like you're going to work every day and like, giving us food and health care and, means to like just keep surviving during all this. Like, thank you. You're so appreciated. It's just crazy. And I guess we're going to see what happens within the coming weeks. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, but be smart, be safe. If you don't already, make sure you follow me, Instagram, Twitter. Those are linked below, I think. It depends what platform you're on, but I'm pretty sure below is everything. The description and everything's always below. So make sure you follow me if you don't already. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you don't. Follow me on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts. And yeah, we'll be coming back out with another episode. Guys, some weeks I'm going to have, maybe a lot of content in a short amount of time, and other weeks it's going to be back to every other week. It's just kind of, every day is different. So every week is different. I'm trying to push stuff out for you guys as fast as I can. But bear with me. I'm not just sitting around eating bonbons. I can promise you that, okay? But yeah, take care of yourself, stay safe, and we are going to see you on the next episode of Little Talks with Big Nikki. Have a good week, y'all. I'll catch you next time.